I'm Bruce Sellery. This is Moolala, Money Made Simple. There are tens of thousands of financial advisors in Canada. Finding the right one can be pretty tough. You might consider an advisor who specializes in serving clients that are just like you, at least when it comes to your job. Niche advisors exist in all sorts of industries: engineers, doctors, the military. Joining me now is Howard Atkinson, the president of Tax Matters for Dentists, and Chuck Hamilton, president of Educators Financial Group. Disclosure there, I have delivered content to Educators Financial in the past. Hello to you both.
Hello. Hi, Bruce. Great to be with you.
I want to start, Howard, with you. How are dentists different when it comes to their money? Aside from getting their assets, it's like pulling teeth. I've been preparing that. That's my big joke. That's all I have.
Stole my line.
That's
go.
all I have. How are they different?
They're one of the highest earning professionals in Canada. They have the ability to incorporate, which brings into the picture a lot of tax planning situations.
Would you say they're entrepreneurial as a
They are by nature. They are. They don't. They operate independently for the most part. Some own multiple practices, but for the most part, they're on their own. They're entrepreneurs, so they're looking for help. They're looking for professional advisors.
How do they think about the balance between investing in the practice and traditional assets, investing in traditional assets like an exchange-traded fund? Because I would assume for many of them, they build the practice, and then retirement is an exit that has a lump sum because you've sold your practice or chain to a keener.
Right. Their most valuable asset is their practice and the cash flows out of their practice. And so that's what we focus on, and we measure and keep score by their net worth. Okay, so a typical dentist with an established practice can gross about $1.5 million a year with 50% margin. So before paying themselves. So after they pay themselves, they've got a few $100,000 to sock away. So they can build up considerable net worth prior to selling their practice.
I'm going to totally haggle on my next cleaning. And be like, listen, I know what you guys make from margins. I want half price. Chuck, same question. What's different about educators? And you're talking teachers, principals, a whole bunch. It's not just the classroom, not just the classroom teachers that you serve.
That's correct. It's all education workers in Ontario that we serve. What makes them different? They're time starved. They definitely need to have some financial advice. They've got a great defined benefit pension plan. Where what they really value is some educator-specific advice. There's lots of planners out there that give advice, but we benefit from a trusted relationship with them.
One of the things that would seem to hamper your model is so many of them have a defined benefit pension plan that there wouldn't be all that much left over. Like the pension adjustment would mean that they don't have as much to put to an RRSP. So you've got probably a lower asset base per client than, well, certainly than dentists, but than other financial planning firms.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Much lower than other professional groups. But that's why we've diversified. It's the advice around it. We operate on a not-for-profit basis. So, again, asset accumulation is only a part of what we do. It's the educator-specific advice that we get. We offer a mortgage brokerage service as well. And so, like every other Canadian out there, they're looking for the best deal on mortgages.
How do you think about family members? So a lot of these niche advisors, you don't have to be in the niche to engage to use the services. Is that same for you?
Same for us. We extend our services to education members and their family members across the province.
Howard, you mentioned a bunch of other services that you have, tax planning, incorporation, insurance, blah, blah, blah. How do you charge for that? Is this a hybrid model for if they want to invest in an ETF, they're under a fee-based model and then they're fee for service on tax planning, or how do your dentists pay for it?
Yeah, it's a recurring revenue model. It pretty much are fees. I mean, every segment is a little bit different. On the accounting, we have several packages that they can buy, but it's a one price for a level of service. That's it. We don't keep track of every 10 minutes and bill by the hour. It's fee-based on the investment side. Obviously, insurance, it's embedded. Practice management is something else we do, which we go into the dental practices and help make them more efficient, deal with HR issues, and that's done on a fee basis as well.
Do you advise on what treats you should get after your session, like whether or not it's a toothbrush or a lip balm?
Something that doesn't cause cavities.
It doesn't cause cavities. It's not going to be a sucker. Chuck, what would you say about the client service that you offer that might be different from your competitors? What's different about it? And then I ask, as I mentioned, I know about educators. Your people go into schools.
So we run a mobile workforce. We don't have bricks and mortars other than our head office. I think what makes us different is that we deal with one group. So when I'm talking to an educator earlier in their career, I have a pretty good idea what their financial situation and their compensation and the challenge they're going to face in 5 years, 10 years at retirement. So I think what makes us different, because we're focused on one professional group, is that we can look a little bit further down the road than they themselves may be looking.
One of the things that's really surprised me about your history is you began as a lender, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you began as a lender in part because lenders weren't providing mortgages to educators back 40 years ago or something.
Back in 1975.
Which seems ridiculous, because today it's one of the most stable jobs you can have.
Well, back in the day when they worked 10 months a year, and many of them didn't have incomes in the summer, they were seen as seasonal workers. And that's why that happened.
Now, Howard, how do you think about fees now that you're focused on this? You spent a lot of time in the ETF space and probably beat that fee drum pretty darn hard. How do you think about it now?
It's hard to make money at 3 basis points.
Yeah.
And we obviously look at the competition. We frankly believe there is no direct competition. We are unique. We deliver all these services with one point of contact, and that's the key. So the dentist just has one relationship with one of our relationship managers, and we connect the dentist with all these other services. So we do look at what accounting firms charge, and we're conscious of what investment advisors charge, and we're very competitive or slightly less, and we offer a lot more value.
Chuck, what are the big questions that educators come to you with? And I ask because if they didn't have that defined benefit pension, the big question many people have is, how much do I need to retire, and can I retire yet? If a teacher hits their 85 factor and they've got that pension, depending on what they want to do, they're in pretty good shape. So what are the big questions? What are their concerns? What are their stress points? What do they want from your people?
Yeah, so many of them don't understand how their pension's going to integrate with Canada Pension Plan and OAS. And so we focus our advice on helping them understand if they have a pension gap, a gap between what they're going to earn from their pension and the lifestyle they want to maintain. And so we give them advice on that. That would be one of the questions. That's at the retirement end of the spectrum. At the front end of the spectrum, it's around buying a home. So they're looking for a trusted advisor, because we're owned by the education community and operate on sort of not-for-profit basis.
Yeah.
Then they go, we trust the advice that you give.
What other models are operated on a not-for-profit basis? It's almost an oxymoron or a contradiction of terms. You're a financial company that operates as a not-for-profit, and it's owned by a teachers' federation. What?
Well, again, it's just one of the ways that our owners, Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, gives back to the education community. Our services aren't limited to their members, it's to everybody. So again, the bigger we get, the more powerful we become in the negotiations with lenders, for example.
Howard, I want to ask you that same question. What do dentists come to you for? What are their big questions? You've flagged that they're spinning off cash. They've got an asset that they can sell. So the how much do I need to retire is probably less relevant to them.
Right. We still do that for them. But every dentist needs tax and accounting, banking, because they got to charge their clients, and practice management software to run their practice. So we're involved currently in two of those areas, and we're looking to add banking. But the number one question is, how am I doing against my peers? And because benchmarking, and because we deal with hundreds of dentists, we actually have the answer to that, and we can show them and segment it by practice size. Oh, you're over in this area, you're under in this area, so we can identify areas of improvement and then help them implement those improvements.
Well, let me ask you on those. So there are basically two levers to any business. It's revenue and cost. For dentists, do most of them need to work on driving revenue, or do most of them need to work on reducing cost?
I'd say it's more revenue. So if you've got an empty chair with a hygienist for too many hours a day, you're losing revenue.
Right.
And so that's one of the key metrics. What percentage of their overall revenue is hygiene?
They're so good at dealing with their hands. They should, you know what, here's a brilliant idea. Jewelry cleaning. So the hygienist in downtime should be cleaning jewelry in that. What do you
Brilliant.
Niche Advisors. Howard Atkinson, the president of Tax Matters for Dentists. Chuck Hamilton, president of Educators Financial Group. Gentlemen, thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
Thanks.